Oh, hi everyone. It's Meegan here from Graham's Foundation. I am the director of our Preemie Parent Mentor Program here. And with me today is Brendan, who is one of our Preemie Parent dads. And he's here to tell us a little bit about his experience with the NICU, prematurity, and everything on Father's Day today. Happy Father's Day, Brendan.
Hi, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
So we'd love to hear a little bit about you and your journey.
Sure. So in June of last year, my wife Allie and I had our son Remy, and Remy was born at 27 weeks and 3 days. The reason was Allie was diagnosed with severe preeclampsia. So I ended up going to a hospital on a Sunday. They said, Allie, your blood pressure is very high. You have preeclampsia. You're going to have to deliver right away. So obviously we were very concerned and didn't, weren't anticipating a baby till Labor Day of last year. So it kind of like changed our mindset right away. So they started giving Allie the mag and some other medication to kind of bring her blood pressure down. And they said, well, you're at a hospital right now that can't support preemies before 30 weeks. So we need to transfer you to a hospital 40 miles away in Chicago that can support babies as early as like 24 weeks. So Allie was taken to a hospital in Chicago called Illinois Masonic, and we were there, and she stabilized in the ambulance, and we were there for a few more days, and then on Wednesday things kind of changed. Her blood pressure went up, and to make a long story short, Remy was born by C-section at 7:28 that night. He was 1 pound 11 ounces, and he was in the NICU for 75 days, and so we can kind of talk about that.
Amazing. It's, even though we hear these stories every day, it's always great to hear them firsthand. And we often forget about the fathers, or when we hear these stories, they don't mention the fathers. So we just want to touch on a little bit of that today. We did ask during the week on our Instagram stories if anyone had any questions for you. And one of the first one was, did you ever feel left out? Like everything was about mom and baby, and the dad was kind of, a little bit left out or forgotten about. Did you ever feel that?
Not particularly, but I think there might have been a specific reason for that. Since Remy was born in June, it was kind of like right at the beginning of COVID. So what would made our experience different, I think, than a lot of parents that came right before us is that at our NICU, only one of us were allowed there at a time. So basically, one would be one in and one out. So the only times we spent together with Remy in the hospital are the 5 days after he was born, while we were both still there, after Allie was recovering.
Yeah.
One other time we were there, I guess, for a CPR class together, and they let us go back and see him. But truthfully, like on our way, when he came home was really the first time we spent time with him together as parents. So I actually felt like I had a lot of individual time with him and really learned how to be a parent with the nurses by myself in the NICU.
Which is amazing. And that might be something, that we could talk about more with the families that we support, because I know a lot of the time when they go in and the mum and the dad go in together, it kind of defaults to mum. Mum wants to hold the baby first, get the kangaroo care, and a lot of the focus is on the mum. She's the one that's just either given birth or had surgery. She's the one pumping and a lot of that. So I guess that's one positive we can take out of COVID, is that you did get this, one-on-one time that was just for you. So that sounds pretty awesome. That was like a good thing that came out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was good for me, especially because I hadn't had a ton of experience with babies ahead of time. However, it was sort of isolating, I think.
Yeah.
In the same sense too, it's like, he didn't meet any of his grandparents or any of our siblings before he came home. So the nurses in the NICU, the doctors in the NICU really became our family at that time. So while that was like an advantage to becoming a parent, it still wasn't an experience we hope we had if we were in the NICU situation.
I know myself and my husband, when my daughter was born at 28 weeks, we weren't allowed. It was only us allowed anyway. We weren't allowed other visitors. So in that aspect, no one, her grandparents got to meet her once before she came home. So, I mean, it depends on the NICUs. They definitely do have different things like that. And it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of all the data that they're getting with visitation during NICU and during COVID, and how that's going to change. So I know there's a lot of research studies going on about that now. So that'll be interesting to see kind of how that comes about. One of the other questions that was asked was, what is your advice to a new preemie dad just starting out the NICU journey?
So there's a couple things. I think really the first thing is you really need to be the advocate for your family while you're there. You need to be really open to listening and realize virtually none of it is in your control whatsoever.
Right.
Um, yeah, and so really, I mean, things are going to come at you. They're going to be really unexpected. You can, hope for good news. Sometimes there's good news. Sometimes there's bad. Another part of it too is it helped me is I did no reading on the internet because I knew that wasn't going to help me. And there is a litany of scenarios and rabbit holes you can go down. And honestly, not knowing anything and only dealing with the information that was presented to us made the experience a little bit more tolerable and easier to digest. Nothing's easy, but that would be the big thing is just listen. Like a part for us was like we knew there was not a lot we could control, but one time they had decided to move Remy's isolate like to a different station in the hospital, and that it kind of didn't sit well with us. So we decided to make a call back and say, hey, do you think you can move? The isolate back into that place, and we feel like that's a more private area for us. And they're happy to do that. Another thing is get to know the nurses because they are having a great team of nurses and people that know your baby. It's a huge thing. You're able to do like a priority or preference list of who you'd like your baby to work with. A lot of times they try to do that because they know they get to learn your kid as you're learning your kid at the same time. And since they're spending a majority of the time with them, they know them a little better than you do to start out with. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's like the craziness of the situation.
Yeah, primary nurses are definitely a godsend, I think, in a lot of hospitals. My daughter had 2 daytime primary nurses and 1 nighttime primary nurse. So out of those 3 nurses for the 2 shifts, 7 days a week, she was with them for 9 of them. So she had that consistent care. They were the first people to notice if something was wrong. They were the first people to notice if something was changing or she wasn't sitting well with feedings changed and things like that before, and eventually I would start to notice these things, but they were the ones with her from that very start. And I know a lot of hospitals are trying to move towards that kind of primary care if it's possible. And we always tell our parents, and the mentors in our program always tell parents that this might be something that you could ask for. Ask, can we have the same nurses? Can we have continuation of care? So just like Brendan said, getting that advocacy, finding your mama bear and your papa bear, and not being afraid to speak up for your baby. Like even that, just moving the isolate. So they might not have thought twice about moving it, but for you, it was a big deal. So finding your voice is a really big one. So that's really good. And then another question that was asked is, how has being a dad to a preemie changed you?
100%, and I mean entirely. To be totally honest with you, I think about this all the time. I think there's kind of that time before I was the dad of a preemie, and there's a time afterwards. And I think that's also part of becoming a parent for the first time. So that's kind of like a big sandwich. It's definitely like giving me new purpose in my life. I think that's a really big part of it. I wanted to reach out. I wanted to help. And I was thinking of something crazy that kind of didn't come to me till months later. A good friend of ours had twins in the fall of 2018, and we went to go visit the twins in the NICU, and they were like 31 weeks, and they were like at least 3.5 pounds apiece. And I remember thinking, these babies are so small. And I was thinking, like, they're so tiny. And it was, that was my first time in the NICU, and I kind of blacked out, forgot about that whole time. But it really illustrated to me like how there's so much care, and there's all these babies in different scenarios and situations. And then I realized you cut to like a year and a half later, and I have a baby that's 13 inches long, and like, it's just, he's like this big, and it's really crazy. So I definitely, as a parent, I feel different. And, anytime I hear about any parent of a preemie, even if a baby comes in just less than 13 weeks early, it's still like very close to my heart. But yeah, it's definitely given me some new purpose and kind of redefined who I am as a person, for sure.
And I think we hear that a lot. There's, you often hear about, oh, my friend had a preemie, or my aunt, or this person or that person, but you don't really understand what it means until you have your preemie and you're living that NICU life. It's not a world you need to know about, want to know about, need to know about until you're in it, and then you're in it, and it is a whole new world, and it doesn't leave you when you leave the NICU. Once you transition home, it's with you. I mean, my daughter just turned 6, and we still have her specialists and do different things, and prematurity still affects our life, and it will do. So it's definitely a long-term thing, and it definitely, you've got the new dadness, but then you've also got the prematurity on that. I know your son Remy, he is getting early intervention.
Yeah, so he does physical therapy and some developmental as well. So we do some that's on either like Zoom, or we have some specialists come here as COVID's kind of, or people getting more vaccinated. We're having them kind of have a few specialists come in. So that's been that's definitely been something new that we obviously didn't know about, that our state provided too.
And that's something that's very normal in the prematurity world, is to go home and have multiple follow-up doctors, specialists, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, feeding therapy, all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of, you're in it for the long haul. Not all babies will need all of that, but generally you're going to need at least something. So
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on.
Oh, he had early ROP, retinopathy, prematurity. So he went to a specialist for a while, and he went for a few months, and like up until I think earlier this year. And it turns out he doesn't need to be seen again until he's 5. So we're really grateful about that.
That's always an awesome thing. That's great. I love it when we get to say goodbye to specialists. They've kind of seen your babies grow up, though. It's very crazy. My daughter had an ophthalmologist follow up just in the last few months, and they've seen her since she was actually in the NICU, and it's just, they love seeing it as well. They love following these babies and seeing the process, the progress that they make, and it's awesome for them as well. Now, I know that your NICU journey was a little bit different because it was during COVID. Were there any NICU support groups available in your hospital? Were there any, were there social workers, psychologists, any help available to you in the NICU?
Yes, but in a certain limited, kind of like a limited extent. Obviously, because of COVID, there weren't certain options available to us in person, mainly because there was like a few Zoom options and whatnot. But obviously, we sought some of those out ourselves. But they did offer some literature on that, and gave us an opportunity. But again, it wouldn't be the same way as it would be if there wasn't the pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. And is there, if you could give any brand new preemie dad who just had a preemie today advice, what would you tell them?
I know this is the hardest thing. What?
Putting you on the spot.
So yeah, I know this is probably like the hardest thing that you've ever experienced. But the best thing you can do is to try. To just listen. Try to understand. Try to find like a core team that you trust with your baby. Ask as many questions as you want. Know that none of your questions are stupid, because you don't know. Going into this, you have no idea what's going on. There's no need to feel like you need to be, quote unquote, strong. You talk about how you're feeling. Find a trusted friend. Find a therapist if that helps you. All those kinds of things is just to be open. And if it helps you, be open about the experience. I know for us, being able to do some semi-regular updates about him really made a difference for us, because even during COVID, we couldn't see our friends. It let us know that there were people out there that that were kind of like on our side and were with us along the journey, including our families, who were amazing the entire time.
That's awesome. And so Graham's Foundation, we have the My Preemie app, which is an amazing app that you can track all your baby's feedings, their weight, their everything. And it has a notes section. And I always encourage people to put their notes in there. Maybe the doctor or the nurse comes around during rounds and they may talk about things, and you may not know what they mean, or you're not sure. You can quickly put a note in there, and that's when the nurses are the best friend. Ask them, what did this mean? What did the doctor mean when he said this, and so forth. Really use the resources available to you. We also have our mentor program, which Brendan and myself are a part of. Our mentors are all preemie parents. They've all been through the prematurity journey, varying prematurity journeys, different journeys. We have parents that have had babies not come home from the NICU. We've had late-term preemie mentors. We've got everything in between. And our mentors are available via email, phone, or text message, and we match you one-on-one. And it's kind of like an emotional support person in a way, someone that you can just talk to, that gets it, that there's no expectations on, that you don't, if you forget to text them back, there's no big deal. It's not your mum who you didn't text back and they're going to get mad. It's someone that knows what it's like to be there, and you can just talk to. So obviously Brendan is one of our dads. He talks to mums and dads, but if you ever want someone to talk to as you're going through this journey, please reach out to us. We will put in the comments more about the mentor program. And And if you ever have any questions, just reach out to us. We're always here. We also have our care packages. We have the NICU care package, which is during your NICU stay, the transition home care package for when you transition home. It's got things like the don't touch me signs that you can put on the car seats or the doors and things like that. And then we also have the remembrance care package for those babies that don't make it home. So we have a few things going on at the moment as well. We do have our T-shirts available for sale right now. I've got the Preemie Strong one on. Unfortunately, Brendan's his arrival on Monday. We've got a whole lot of T-shirts for sale right now on Bonfire, and all the proceeds that we get from Bonfire do go straight back into getting those care packages back into the hands of our parents. So if you want to show your Preemie pride, we've got everything from onesies all the way up to adult T-shirts. There's some really great designs. Our graphic designer, Jessica, who is also a Preemie mum, designed these for us. Some really cool designs. And then we will have our Teenies for Preemies event this year. Unfortunately, it is going to be virtual again because of COVID. We just can't make any promises what November in New York City is going to look like. So we are going to have an amazing virtual event, which is awesome because everyone from all around the country and the world can join us for that. And I think that's about everything we've got going on for right now. So I think that's everything. I double check if there's any questions.
I did want to add, though, I think dads and all parents should really take, try to find groups like Graham's Foundation. Sorry, I apologize. My friend Monica actually gave us a NICU care package, and that's how I found out about Graham's in the first place.
Wonderful.
And that was halfway through our journey. So yeah. And I think I've got a visitor coming.
Oh, we might even get to meet this Preemie.
Yep. And he just woke up from a nap, so he might be a little tired, but this is Remy right here. Say hi, Rem.
Hi, Remy.
Say hi. You okay?
He's like, I just woke up.
Yeah, he's doing okay though. Oh, he's got his puffs, and we're good. So yeah, that's what's
always amazing to see these babies growing up.
Yeah, he's doing great. He's 9 months adjusted right now. He just had a birthday a couple weeks ago, turned 1. Yeah, so he's in a pretty good mood right now. But yeah.
And Jennifer says hi too.
Hi, just say hi, Jennifer. Okay. Not as much as we're getting out of him right now.
That's okay. Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your very first Father's Day. How exciting is that?
Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. And so hope you all have a good day where you are too.
Actually, this is your second Father's Day, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yes, he was in the NICU for the first one.
He was 10 days old then. It's
10 days old.
This is like the first one we get to really
celebrate
outside of the together. So.
My first Mother's Day was in the NICU, and it was really a blur. It didn't really. Oh, you're getting lots of messages. I see. So proud of you, Brendan. Hi, Remy from Monica. No,
Monica, yeah.
Tis.
And yeah.
And hi, Remy and Brendan from Eileen.
Yep. Say hi. He's staring at his mom.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll let you go and enjoy your wonderful Father's Day with Remy.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Say bye.
Bye, Remy.
Say bye.